Greetings of the day to all. I am Shikha Kansal and I will be talking about probability today in this PPT. So, exactly what is probability? The word probability or the chance is a very commonly used day to day term. We use it in conversation and generally people have a vague idea about what is its meaning. For example, we sometimes say probably it may rain today, or if there are two teams playing a game, then we say chance of winning of team A and team B are equal, and sometimes even we say possibly you are right. So, the terms which we are using here, probably, possible, chance, likely, they convey a same meaning. This same meaning could be, you can say they are telling you as to what are the chances of occurrence of an event. Yes. So, it happens that you are supposed to find out whether that event is certain or not certain to happen in future or in coming future. So, however, in mathematics, statistics, we apply certain methods to calculate numerical vague value of probability, and this method was basically used earlier when there was a theory of probability. It has originated from the game of chance, when you used to throw the dice or tossing a coin or drawing a pack of card from a pack of 52 cards and so on so forth. So, what happened is how it was discovered. It basically was discovered by a scientist mathematician called as Galileo, known as Galileo, and who attempted a quantitative measure of probability while dealing with some of the problems related to the theory of dice and gambling. Starting with the game of chance, probability today become one of the tool of statistics. In fact, statistics and probability are so fundamentally interrelated that it is difficult to discuss statistics without a proper understanding of meaning of probability. So, as to exactly what probability means and how to calculate this, we will study further. The probability does not mean anything, but it is the chances of occurrence of an event when there is a game, or there is an event in which we want to find out exactly what are the chances of happening or not happening of that event. So, the probability, it basically lies between 0 to 1. When we say the probability is equal to 0, then that means the chances of occurrence of that event is 0, that means it will not occur. And if the probability is equal to 1 or lesser than 1, near to 1, it means the probability of occurrence of that event is certain to occur. That means that event is going to occur in future, in the coming future. So, there are different approaches with which we study probability exactly. There are 4 approaches. First is called as a classical or a priori approach of probability, in which what happens is, this is the oldest and simplest method to understand, in which we say that every outcome, or we say every single event has an equal chance to occur. This was originated in 18th century and it started with the game, it started pertaining, this problem started pertaining to the game of chance. The basic assumptions underlying the classical theory, this theory which we are studying is that the outcome of a random experiment are equal likely. For example, if we throw a dice, there are different numbers. The numbers could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if the dice is unbiased. There are 2 types of questions which we do. One is biased, one is unbiased. Unbiased means there are numbers 1 to 6 written on the 6 faces of the dice. This is called unbiased, when all the numbers are getting the chance. But what is biased? Biased means the same number is repeated twice, or 2 numbers repeated twice. That means there is some other number which is missing. For example, if there is a dice with on 6 faces 1 to 6, instead of writing 1 to 6, there is only 1 to 4, because out of 1 to 4 there is some number which is repeating itself. So, it becomes a biased dice. But here what we are talking about, we are talking about a basic assumption which says that all the events, events which are there on the faces of the dice, they are equal likely. Means each outcome out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we do not know which outcome will come, but yes, every outcome has the equal chance to occur. If I throw a dice, every outcome might be 1, might be 2, might be any, has the probability of coming onto the top face which I want to see. The event whose probability is not found out, the event whose probability is to be found out consists of one or more possible outcomes. The outcomes could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For example, if I have a dice again rolled, these are called as the outcomes, and this whole thing which I am doing, this is called as an experiment. This is called as an experiment. When I am throwing a dice, this is called as an experiment. Taking another example, if I have a coin and I am throwing a coin, I want to see whether it will be a head or a tail. So, I have two possible outcomes when I am throwing a coin. So, either it can be a head or a tail. So, the outcomes are two, either head or a tail. So, this is a classical approach because both the outcomes have equal likely chances to occur, either it will be a head or a tail. So, this is possible only when my coin is unbiased, fine. So, what happens is probability. Now, what is a probability in this case when we are talking about a classical approach is there are equal likely chances. So, what happens? A favorable chance to the total number of equal likely chances. That means a probability means number of favorable chances which are supposed to occur. For example, we have discussed the case of a coin. If I want head to occur, and how many outcomes can be there? There can be two outcomes. So, out of head or tail. So, this becomes 1 over 2. In the same manner, if we talk about the case of a dice. So, what happens in dice is, dice has, if I want only 1 to occur, if I am throwing a dice only once and I want 1 to occur. So, what happens is 1 is one number which I want to happen, and how many outcomes can be there? 6. So, the probability of 1 to occur is only 1 over 6. So, now this clears the idea of what is a probability. Probability is nothing but the chances of occurrence of an event. This probability lies between 0 to 1. When it is 0, it means that probability will not occur, that event will not occur, and if the probability comes out to be 1 or greater than 0, then there could be the chances of occurrence of that event. So, there is a simple formula of probability, that means if there is A is an event which I want to know whether it will occur or not, what is the probability of occurrence of this event? Thus, it is equal to number of favorable chances divided by total number of equal likely chances or equal likely cases. For example, if a same example is given here, if I want to toss a coin, there are two equal likely chances results, head or a tail. Therefore, the result of being a head, probability of head to be there is equal to 1 over 2. Probability of tail in the same manner, probability of tail is equal to tail over head or tail, that is equal to 2, which is equal to 1 over 2 again. So, this is called as a classical approach. Another example, if a dice is thrown, the probability of obtaining an even number. Even numbers are the numbers which are divisible by 2, either 2, 4 or 6. So, there are 3 numbers which are called an even number when we are talking about a dice. So, what is the probability that an even number 3, out of these 3 comes when I throw the dice. So, out of these 3 I have how many numbers I can have? Probability of an even number is equal to 3 over how many numbers we have? We have 6 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, this becomes 1 over 2. Since the 6 possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and out of these 6 numbers only 3 numbers are even number. So, my probability of getting an even number becomes 1 over 2. Therefore, this ratio which I am writing here, this ratio can be connected as the numerator of the fraction represents the number of successful or unsuccessful outcomes. The numerator here it denotes the fraction, this fraction represents the number of successful or unsuccessful outcomes, whereas the denominator of this fraction, it represents the total number of possible outcomes. Coming to another example, if there is a bag containing 10 black balls, 20 white balls, a ball has to be drawn at random. That means, you are supposed to just pull a ball out of the bag. What is the probability that the ball drawn which you are drawing is black in color? A bag contains, I am repeating, a bag contains 10 black and 20 white ball. That means, in total a bag contains 30 balls, 10 black and 20 white. What is the probability that the ball which I am drawing out of the bag is black in color? So, what happens next is, the total number of balls, as I have told you, is 30, number of black balls here is, number of black ball is 10 and number of white balls are 20. So, number of black balls, this is number of black balls is equal to 10 and number of white balls, is equal to 20. Now, the question says, what is the probability that the ball which I am drawing is black in color? Number of favorable chances, as I have told you, number of black ball is 10 divided by what is the total number of balls in the bag is 30. So, what I do is, total number of favorable cases 10 divided by the total number of balls in the bag is 30 is equal to 1 over 3. So, the probability of getting a black ball is 1 over 3. We can either leave it like this or we can just find out in points, this is your wish. This is probability of getting a black ball, but yes, if I want to find out as to what is the probability of not getting a black ball, or we can say probability of getting a white ball, they both are same. When we talk about probability of not getting a black ball, that means what is the another color which is available in the bag is white. So, what is the probability of getting a white ball is, number of white ball I told you is 20. So, 20 divided by the total number by the total number, that is the number of balls which are available in the bag is 30. So, 20 divided by 30 gives you 2 over 3. Therefore, earlier I told you that the probability is written as 1, the highest probability is 1. So, by this question we can just check whether my probability of getting a black ball or not getting a black ball is equal to 1 or not, and we can cross check this question, as here we have got 1 over 3 of getting black ball and here we have got 2 over 3 of not getting the black ball. If we add them both, we will get 1 over 3 plus 2 over 3 is equal to 1. That means, my highest probability can be 1. Hence, proved this you can tell that this can tell us that whether a probability of the highest probability of any of the event can be 1 or not. So, this is one of the proof that yes, the highest probability of finding out an event of is equal to 1. Now, the another type of approach which we use to find out the probability is relative frequency approach. That means, when the outcomes of a random experiments are not likely or not known, whether they are equal likely or they are equal likely to occur or they are not equal likely to occur, then what happens is this classical approach we have just found, which we have just solved, is not desirable there. So, what next we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to find out another approach which can solve our question, which is called as relative frequency approach. What happens when a number is greater than 3, that will appear on a dice which is rolled or not. So, we do not know how many times or in the first attempt whether it come or not, case of relative probability, whether a lot of 100 items will contain 10 defective items or not. If you have a lot of 100 items, out of these 100 items I am supposed to find out that whether this 10 defective items will be found or not. It is a bit difficult question until unless you do not pull or you do not take out 100 times, because we do not know whether the number which we are finding out with the items which we are pulling out of the bag, it is coming out to be out of 90 or it is coming out to be the 10 defective items. So, another case of relative frequency approach, because we are supposed to do it again and again till the time the event which I want to find out, till the time the result which I want to find out, it comes out of the bag. Now, it is possible to predict occurrence of an outcome in advance without repetitive trials of an experiment. Therefore, this approach of relative frequency approach is computing probability states that when a random experiment is repeated large number of times, when this experiment which we are talking about, for example, whether a lot of 100 items will contain 10 defective items or not, when I am repeating it n number of times, a large number of times, unless under the same situations, same conditions, same parameters, taking the trials independent to each other, and I am doing it again and again till the desired event may not occur in a frequency of time. That means, if for example, I have a dice, I am rolling a dice, but I want only 6. In my first trial, 6 does not appears on the dice, on the top face of the dice. On the second time, it is not appearing on the, but I keep on rolling the dice until unless I don't have 6 on the face of the dice. So, that is called as a relative frequency approach, because I am not aware of how many times I will roll the dice, because I want that desirable event to occur. Here also, in the earlier case when we were talking about the classical approach, I was knowing that I am supposed to do it only once, but here in relative frequency approach, I do not know as to how many times I am supposed to roll the dice, how many times I am supposed to toss the coin to get a head. So, that n number is called as relative frequency approach. For example, if a dice is rolled n times, n number of times, and S denotes the number of times that event, A says, for example, if I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what is the ratio? This probability A which I want to occur, probability A is the event which I want to occur, which I want to happen, is defined as CS, where CS denotes the number of times I have got that event in rolling the dice. Number of times I have got that event in rolling the dice, that n number of times, that is n. This proportion is basically, this gives the proportion of times the event A has occurred in n trials. Thus, n is unknown. I do not know how many times I am supposed to roll the dice to get that event which I want. So, this is taken as infinity here, because I do not know, I can put any value here infinity, in place of infinity I can put any value, because n number of times which I am rolling the dice, I do not know how many times, and how many times in that n number of rolling of dice, in how many times I am getting that event is CS, is called as a relative frequency approach, or relative frequency of the event in n trials, where your CS means the number of trials that an event S has occurred and in n trials, and this approach is also called as an empirical probability. Moving ahead, there is one more approach which is called as a subjective approach. Now, what is a subjective approach? A subjective approach is nothing. It is basically approach of calculating probability is always based on the degree of belief, conviction, experience concerning the likelihood of occurrence of a random event. It basically, subjective approach of probability, it basically depends upon our belief system. It depends upon what we think, what is my experience about a certain event. For example, if I want to commute, if I had to commute from Meerut to Noida, then this belief that I will get the traffic jam while commuting from Ghaziabad, this is my experience, or this is my belief, because the population in that area is very high. So, this is my belief that probability of getting a traffic jam in that path from Meerut to Noida is very high. This becomes my belief and my experience with time. But instead of taking Ghaziabad route, I take the Hapur expressway route. So, this becomes my subjective approach, because with time my probability of commuting from the path number 2 becomes high due to beliefs, convictions and experience which are likelihood for the occurrence of a random event. It is a way to quantify an individual's belief, assessment and judgment about a random phenomena. Probability assigned for the occurrence of an event may be based on just a guess or on having same idea about relative frequency on the past occurrence of the event. It could be in past number of times I would have commuted through Ghaziabad path, but always I found traffic, lot of traffic on that route. So, due to my past occurrence of the event of traffic, I normally tend not to take that route, I take another alternative route even if it requires a bit of more time. So, this becomes my subjective approach when I talk about finding out the probability of which route to follow, which path to follow. So, what happens is this approach must be used when either sufficient data are not available with me. These days we have GPRS. So, what we do is before leaving the house we check which route is more packed and we take another route, but this approach when we do not have enough data, when we do not have enough information, we tends to take this subjective approach which is based on the experience which we have, or the source of information giving different results is not known. The source from where we are finding out whether that route is jammed or not, it is not known. Thus, this subjective approach is more dependent upon your beliefs, your conventions, your convictions and your experience, but we use this approach due to the lack of data. The last approach is called as axiomatic approach of probability, which was discovered by a Russian mathematician in 1933. When the approach followed, no precise definition of probability was given, but they found few axioms on this. They found few postulates to find out what the probability how we can find out the probability and how can we define the probability. But before doing this axiom approach, when they used, they did not define as to what could be the precise definition of probability. Thus, but at the end also they said the probability of an event ranges from 0 to 1, as I have told you in the classical approach. Also in the axiom approach also they told that the probability of an event ranges from 0 to 1. When it is 0, that means an event cannot occur, cannot take place, but when it is 1 or between 0 to 1, when it lies between 0 to 1, it tells you what is the rate of probability or what are the chances of occurrence of an event, what is the percentage of occurrence of that event which I want to have. Now, the probability of the entire sample space is taken to be 1, and if A and B are two mutually exclusive or disjoint sets. What are mutually exclusive and disjoint sets events? Then the probability of occurrence of an event A and B, if there are two events, A and B, then what happens is A union B, these two sets are called as disjoint sets, because might be the elements of A could be A, B, C, and the elements of B, this event B could be G, H, I. So, there is nothing in common between set A and set B. So, these two sets are called as disjoint set because they cannot meet each other, because there is no single point onto which is common in both. So, they are disjoint set, they cannot meet each other. And the other is called as, for example, if I have A, B, C and B is equal to G, H, I, my A union B becomes A, B, C, G, H, I, which is called as probability of A union B, that is equal to probability of A, which we have written here, and plus probability of B, which we have written here. Thus, we can tell that if A and B are mutually exclusive or disjoint events, they cannot meet each other, then what is the, according to axiom approach, how to find out the probability of two sets which are mutually exclusive and which are disjoint sets is, we just add them both and we find out the union of both the events, that is equal to probability of A plus probability of B. That means probability of A, which is equal to A B C, plus probability of B, which is equal to G H I, and thus probability of A union B is equal to A comma B comma C comma G comma H comma I. This gives you the probability of two mutually exclusive or disjoint sets, which is denoted by this formula. Till now, in this probability, this was the major basic thing which we will also be studying further in the next PPTs, as this is a precursor for the more basic topics which we will be studying further in the next PPTs. The probability is nothing but what probability is, the basically the, you can say it is a occurrence of finding out the chances of occurrence of an event, and the probability, the highest probability can be 1. Probability lies between 0 to 1. These are the basic things, how a union works, how an intersection works. I will tell you how the intersection works when we are talking about two sets. Intersection is something, but when there are two sets A or B, intersection is nothing but a common area. Intersection is a common area between the two sets A and B. For example, if A is equal to the even numbers or the numbers which are divisible by 2, the numbers which are divisible by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If I take an event A, the numbers which are divisible by 2, they are till 10. So, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and there is one more event B, which is the numbers which are divisible by 3 till 10. So, it is 3, 6, 9. So, if I want to find out A intersection B, my A intersection B will be equal to the numbers which are common in both, that means 6. So, this becomes my A intersection B, whereas my A union B is the joint of both, that means I will add all the elements of A and all the elements of B and write them together to find out what is A union B. Thus, for the same question, if I want to find out A union B, it will be 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. So, my A union B becomes, when I write down two disjoint sets together, and this becomes my A union B, whereas the intersection means something very common between the two events. Between the two events, this becomes the A intersection B. That is all from my side. Thank you so much.